4 ways that not belonging might be showing up in your team. And if you're a leader or a manager and there are people who are being passive and just not doing the work, or if you're a parent and your child is not stepping up into doing their chores or performing at school or in any projects, even outside activities and hobbies, or if you're a friend or a partner and you're seeing that the person you're with is being passive and just sitting on the couch, this could be what's going on underneath. Yesterday, I spoke about the first way that not belonging shows up. And one of the things that I spoke to was how people who are not getting attention, negative attention is better than no attention at all. So there can be a passivity in order to get attention. What I'm speaking about today, when you're seeing that passivity, it's not the same thing. So there's passivity in order to get attention, and then there's the kind of passivity that I'm going to speak about today. One of the things that we all need as human beings is positive recognition. When we receive positive recognition, especially in front of others, our body releases serotonin. So there's how serotonin is responsible for our confidence, for feeling pride, for feeling relaxed, for feeling like we can do things. When our body is not releasing serotonin, then our anxiety levels will be higher than our confidence levels. Now, there's the way that our body produces serotonin, and then the way that our body releases serotonin. I'm not speaking today about our body's capacity to produce serotonin and how to make sure that your body has the serotonin in order to release it. What I'm speaking about is these things that I've mentioned is that every time you are recognized and you feel an upliftment in your status in the eyes of others, your body will release serotonin and it will boost you. And it's also what helps you to sleep well at night. For some people, they experience a lack of competency, and this usually begins at a young age, in the early years, where there's a feeling of like, I can't. And that might be because they had teachers or parents who just criticized everything that they did. And then they lost their confidence in themselves to be able to perform. What happens then as they grow up is this feeling of just being completely inadequate. Marcus Buckingham, who wrote the book for managers called First Break All the Rules, and then he also had books that followed on that were about helping people to identify their talents and how to turn their talents into strengths. He said that before belonging, people need to feel like they can excel at something. And they need to feel like they can excel at something that they love to do every day. I think that being competent and feeling like you can excel and having those bursts of serotonin are an essential part of belonging, because our brain is primed to feel like the higher we're moving up in our community, in our status, the more secure and the more safe we're going to be. And so if we feel like we're failing and that we can't do things that are necessary in our jobs or in our families to get that admiration and respect from others, then at a very primal level, we will feel threatened, and our body is not releasing that serotonin. So it's important to understand that when someone is not doing the work, it's not just necessarily about being lazy, and it's not necessarily about sabotage or revenge or anger or being passive aggressive. It could be that someone is really feeling inadequate and insecure, especially if they're doing things that are new to them or not within their talents. And this is very crucial for people who are leading and managing teams to understand, but also for even in your home as a parent or for your partner to understand that the things that could be going underneath. So what are the signs? The signs are someone who's constantly in the I can't mode and not believing in themselves. And you might find that someone is constantly offers to do things, but they offer to do things that they know how to do. So they might even be imposing the areas that they feel competent in and get themselves into trouble because they've taken on too much. But the moment they're in areas that they don't feel confident in, they collapse and they procrastinate and do nothing. And they feel completely overwhelmed by how big it feels and not knowing where to start and not knowing how to voice that. One of the signposts is that they feel helpless and hopeless, and you as their partner or the parent or the manager feel helpless and hopeless. And there's a sense of giving up. I'm just going to give up on this person, or I'm just going to give up on myself and give up on my dream, or give up on this role that I've been given because I feel so inadequate. At the worst case, it starts to go into depression and high anxiety levels. You'll see a lot of absenteeism that can be because someone gets physically sick or because they're avoiding the pressure of feeling like a failure and not being able to form and knowing that they're not doing a good job. And at a more extreme level, you see people going into suicidal thoughts because one of the things that activates suicidal thoughts is feeling like a burden. And when you feel incompetent and you feel inadequate, you feel like you are leaning so much on other people that you're a burden to them. And then people also go into addictive behaviors. So if you're seeing that in your teenagers, if you're seeing that in your partner, if you're seeing that in people at work, you want to ask yourself, is this person struggling with feeling competent and feeling inadequate? Sometimes someone is struggling with competency because, and this is the first question to ask yourself if you're feeling inadequate or if you're leading someone who's feeling inadequate, is like, do I have the talent for this, the natural talent for this? If someone has never been exposed to that particular type of work, it might be hard for them to know in the beginning. But usually there are certain talents that we've had all our lives that given the opportunity to train and learn the skills of that thing, we start to excel. And it requires a step-by-step process. Even if someone has the talent, it doesn't mean they can just jump into learning something. They've got to be able to start with the ABCs if they've not done it before. So when someone is saying to you, showing the signs and saying to you, I don't know how, I don't know where to begin, I'm too overwhelmed, you may want to take them back to A, B, and C, and be careful of giving people too much at once. And that requires great patience. But if someone isn't in something that they have the talent for, in other words, if most of what they're required to do is outside of their natural talent, the result will be burnout, even if they can get to the point where they can be good at it simply because they've trained in it and they've had a degree in it. But they won't get to that place of excellence that you might want for your business or for your team or for your child. And it's really important for you as a partner or a manager to believe in people, to assume the best of people and not to assume the worst. So you want to ask yourself, like, am I assuming the worst of this person? That they're just lazy, that they just don't care? And to give them the benefit of the doubt, to ask the questions necessary and to give them a chance to see if they have the talent, to give them the steps slowly enough for them to be able to master it. And if they don't have the talent, it's no good someone staying in the role that they don't have the talent for, because all it does is feed that same experience that they've had growing up of, I can't, I'm no good at this, I'm never going to shine. So that positive recognition is so important. And the third thing you want to ask is there learned helplessness here? So learned helplessness comes when someone has grown up with the experience of not being able to achieve. They learned to be helpless. And part of what being helpless does is it gets positive recognition in a different way, where a manager does the work for them and kind of is doing this, saying, it's so hard, it's okay. And you want to shift out of doing either that or constantly criticizing into encouraging someone to do things for themselves, with giving them just enough steps and enough support so that they can tackle it on their own. And it's safe to make mistakes. It's safe to not be able to do it as fast as possibly they think they have to, or maybe even that your department is requiring of them to do. And that's the difference between great managers and average managers. Is great managers learn the skills, the communication skills, the mentoring skills, even coaching skills, and the intuition in how to guide people into what they really love to do, what their talents are, and how to skill them most effectively, and growing them one step at a time into a role to be able to shine. And so you can apply this to your kids, and you can apply this to your partner. And it starts with really believing in others. I will see you tomorrow for part